We're in the office today, so let's get down to business. The theme of training this week is going to be using the brake side. So a few things I want everyone to get out of this training session. Number one is to have a few new skills or methods to take on a force and get the disc to the brake side. Number two is to have a better understanding of what a good brake side cut is. And three, by the end of training, to really start taking on forces, moving the disc to the brake side of the field at every opportunity. So first of all, why do we want to brake forces? Number one, if you have a look at the whiteboard here, so we've got the blue team on offense with a yellow disc, and we have green defenders here. As a thrower, if I'm only interested in looking at open side cuts, then I'm really ignoring 50% of the field on average, and that is so easy for the defenders to defend. Number two, if I can get the disc out to the brake side, so into this area here, it's generally undefended, unopposed. So it should be very easy for my receiver to get onto that disc without any pressure from the defender, so long as I can get that disc past the force and out into that space. Number three, we'll see if we can get an immediate continuation pass going up into the brake side space, that these throws here will also be undefended. Okay, so braking the force isn't often about that first pass, it's about the effect of the second pass, a continuation pass on the brake side there. And often that can go all the way to the end zone. And the final big reason is sometimes the disc isn't in the middle of the field, sometimes it's out here. Okay, if we're stuck on the sideline, then really there is no open side to try and hit, and we're forced to try and take on a force and get the disc back to the middle of the field, keep the disc alive. So if we can't break a force and we're trapped on the line, we're just going to turn over. Okay? Taking on forces at training whenever we can is going to make us better throwers. It's going to really open up the options to us as an offensive unit if we can always hit the brake side. So the plan for training will be, we're going to start just with some throwing drills. You're going to get a chance to work on some of your brake throws. We're then going to play some games of freeze just to work on everyone's spatial awareness. Then we're going to do a brake force drill with full defense, followed by a brake force hucking drill, and then we're going to go into games at the end. Okay, so situation number one here, just going to play out of a vertical stack because it's easier to see where the brake side is here. In this situation, looking to throw a little brake pass into this sort of space just here, hit the front of the stack, or sometimes this might be an end zone ISO play, and all we're looking to do is flip the disc into this area. It's often throw a lead, so the disc would go first, this player would come and receive it, and look to throw that immediate continuation pass upfield. So one thing we can do to make this pass a lot easier for the thrower is to offset our stack towards the open side. So if we actually stack up towards this side, we can now hit the brake side in here without it actually being a brake throw. So we're not actually having to beat the force, and we can still get the disc onto the brake side. Easy for the receiver, and that continuation passes on to a free player. So think about where you set up, especially in a vertical stack, and how you can make that brake throw easier. Okay, we're looking now at how to make a good brake side cut. We have the black players are on offense, red team defense, yellow is the disc here. So first situation, we have a cutter here who is deep on the open side and they want to get across to the brake side and they're going to angle their cut across towards this area here with a throw that's going to meet them out in front. The reason for this, so obviously we want to get across to the break side, but we can't cut laterally across the pitch because our defender has a chance of getting a block on that. So by cutting on an angle, we are 1, getting in front of our defender, and 2, getting across to the break side. So that as we receive the disc in this position, we are either able to turn and immediately throw the upfield continuation on the break sides, or there might be a little handoff pass to an advancing handler who can then throw from that power position. Okay, next situation here. We are cutting from the open side but much closer to the disc this time. You might find yourself in this position because you've just made an open side angled undercut to here. It might be that this is just your starting position out of a horizontal stack. So the cut we want to perform here is more of a lateral cut across the field towards this space, sometimes referred to as a slash cut. A few reasons for this. First of all, if you think about the angle of this pass, okay, it's coming into this region and almost leading the receiver upfield. As we come in to that pass, if it's overthrown at all, it's very easy for us then to react and turn upfield to follow it. Secondly, because of our body positioning against our marker, it's going to be a lot easier to get in between them and a disc in this space than it is if we're angling and trying to get to a disc over here somewhere. We open up the door for our defender in that position. Also, if you think about the throw here, when we talked about offsetting the stack, this throw doesn't even need to go to the break side. It can just go into this position here without taking on the force at all. And as we come across and receive that disc, again, the deep continuation is immediately on, or the handoff to an advancing handler. Right, so when you're making your in cuts, think about whether you want to go to the break side, your body positioning, how far you're away from the disc, where you are relative to the defender, and whether you're better off angling your cut or if it's the slash lateral cut that is on. Next thing to show you is a good break side deep cut, and this is one that we don't often practice. In this situation here, it might be set off of an open side throw coming to an undercut. Okay, sort of typical situation, getting free on the open side as force is approaching. And from this position here, sort of ideally, or normally, what we're looking to do is strike up that line for a scoring pass. Okay, open side, huck, going deep. But as you can see, that pretty much just becomes a foot race between these two players. See who can get to this space first. So one thing we can do is to commit to that deep strike, but at a point, go and hit the far side, break side corner. And this will typically happen as this person receives the disc. The defender comes in, they want to put some pressure on that open side throw, and so the thrower turns to the inside of the field, and then they can hit the break side space as their cutter cuts off towards it. And now we have a man with his defender on one side and the disc on the other one, and hopefully that should be much easier for them to attack that disc. So that's a deep break side cut. Okay, I just want to finish by thinking a little bit about set plays. So set plays are often called from dead discs, from a static setup. these situations normally sort of favour the defence, or the defence likes these situations because they get to crowd out the open side. They know exactly where the open side is, and there might be other opportunities for them to call out where they could switch, or where they could double coverage or sandwich the opposition. For the offense, though, it's a nice sort of opportunity to really know where the break side is on the field, and have those spaces really clear to attack from the off. So I really like set plays where the first pass is looking to hit a break and really change what the defense has to do straight away. So in this situation here, for instance, we have a set play where the open side cutter is going to come across to the break side, the break side cutter is going to come across to the open side, and this should set up a deep play. So if the break side player comes across to this side of the field, his man has to respect the open side, so he's generally going to stay here. At the same time, so he's made this movement. Okay, just after that, the open side cutter is going to come across to the break side. And if we can get this disc out, we find ourselves in this position. Immediately, this cutter is heading towards the end zone. He's on the right side of his defender. That this throw has to be a completion, has to be a score. So great setup, great set play if we can get that break throw going. We have a similar play with Glasgow that we call stick, and it works every time. It works every time that we get this initial break throw out. So really important that we get good at taking on the mark and throwing breaks into small areas, into far into the break sides, and even trying out some of these break side hucks. Okay, lastly, I want everyone to think of a throw that they want to add to their throwing repertoire that will allow them to take on forces in a game. So it might be a high release forehand or backhand, it might be a scuba, it might be throwing around the back of a force if you're not used to doing that. Just a throw that you're not used to throwing in a game that you'd like to implement into your game, and we'll get some time to drill that. You can also come up, if you want to try something a bit more creative, add an extra throw. Maybe that's a lefty backhand, maybe it is between the legs or around the back throw. Choose something that's fun as well. We'll get some time to drill both of them. Write them on your hand along with some other personal goals, and I'll see you on Wednesday.